Now talking about 3D, and this is now a little bit of new function in PuttLab 7. So we have the ability to connect this software, for example, to 3D, and we have a new option here, which is a high-speed video. So we can connect PuttLab to different other apps or other applications, which could also be SAM Balance Lab, or it could be SAM Ball Tracker. We will talk about ball tracking also a little bit afterwards. And it could also be a tiltable platform. So inside of the studio, we would combine everything into an environment which is much more than only looking at putting analysis. So let's maybe just start with 3D-Putt, and let's look at Paul Asinger in 3D. So even if you are inside of a training session, you can directly switch to 3D in a way that for the putt you just played, the 3D is automatically replaying your putt. On the left side in 3D, and this is completely new programmed, you have different views, and then you have again different view angles here, from front, top, behind, from the target, from the back. So you can select different targets here. You have even more options. If you go here, you can add single different aspects like templates and stuff. So there are a lot of options in here. Normally you would start with these profiles. So face angle is showing you what the face is doing in 3D relative to your putt. And you see this has an extremely high resolution. So we can really look very closely to what's going on at impact. And in the future, we will implement gaming in this environment also. At this point, you can just replay all your putts perfectly in 3D. And this is now communicating with SAM PuttLab. Let's say in SAM PuttLab, you look at a report, and in this report, you would look at impact spot. For example, you would look at putt number 3, which is dead center, or putt number 4, and then inside of 3D, we would also see putt number 4 here. So this is synchronously switched. And if we look at impact, we would get exactly the same picture as in SAM PuttLab. We go for putt number 5, which is slightly toe, and then we would see this putt in 3D also. We have shaft movement, which is the shaft pivot and what the shaft is doing in space, also angle-wise. We have launch views, which are new in 3D too, where you at impact will see the vertical launch. And actually, this is the 3D D-plane. Now the vertical projection, the horizontal projection for ball direction, which is face angle and path. As I said in Paul Isinger case, if these arrows are on the same direction, this is a perfectly neutral type of stroke. We can have templates, which actually are 3D templates, which help you to see the amount of rotation relative to your stroke, which then can be given to your student as training tools. Different angles of templates. Paul Isinger's stroke would be rather a 24-degree template. And then we have swing plane. And this is quite interesting, as you would normally look from your normal eye position onto a putt like this. If your eye is over the ball, you would see the path would be curving and the face would be opening and closing. But this is a bird eye's view over the ball. And this is not what you actually do. What you do is inside of the swing plane, moving in a way that everything is straight and square in Paul Isinger's case. So this means, although this is tilted, looking very carefully, the swing plane has the same tilt as the shaft. This is the radius, the center of rotation. The radius is slightly on the right side of the player, so this means the low point is before impact, somewhere here. So this results in naturally getting up through impact with a positive angle of attack. And so throughout the stroke, this is almost perfectly neutral relative to the swing plane. And this can be used to show your student the difference between what he sees and what he actually needs to do. Now let's look at Tiger's data, which we've seen are quite different. We can go to swing plane. Now looking at Tiger Woods' stroke, and this is now the vertical view. You see the face is open here, the face is closed here, but it's a straight path against the target line. So this is kind of your bird eyes view. Now, if we go into the swing plane, it almost exactly looks the same. So he's rotating against the swing plane. So the putter is opening and closing against the swing plane. And that's a completely different stroke as compared to the stroke of Paul Azinger. So if I show it to you like this, you can definitely see that this is against the swing plane. And this is coming from the hands. So the swing plane is almost straight and the face is closed a lot. And that's a completely different type of stroke. Again, the center of rotation is at the right side, so there's again a positive angle of attack. And we show all the numbers here. So this is about 3D. Now we might even prolong this and extend this to video. Let us see if I can just pop this up. So we go to high-speed video. And if you have a camera, high-speed camera installed, you might simply activate it inside of a studio. So normally it should be a FLIR camera, but we might have different options in the future. This is also something you need to discuss with our service to find out which camera you could use. But let's say I have now specific putt, and I have now selected a putt maybe which is having some problems. Let's take this putt at the toe. You also don't hit it nicely pathwise. Now I, at the same time, can replay this putt in 3D and in video. I hope you can see that. I hope the transmission is okay. So these are kind of the same putts, and I can switch, as I said, between different putts. So I can open up putt 8, and then everything would just show you putt 8. So you can manually scroll through this, and everything will be just synchronous. If you would have Balance Lab, even the Balance Lab data would be scrolled in parallel. And at the same time, where we see now top view in both, you might certainly go to other displays to see it differently here. So there are a lot of options to play around. So I would say if you have 2 screens available and you use a high-speed video, 3D and SAM PuttLab, that's quite impressive. And this extends abilities of your SAM PuttLab considerably. I've done a couple of videos on that to see how this would look alike. So this would be a hit in the center. This is a top view we've just seen. Or you might look at it from the back. Well, the putter type does not match, but we have the option to change the putter type in our 3D software also now. And this is really a one-to-one, what you can see here. It's really one-to-one. I think quite impressive. Okay. Question of Josh, do you use sounds or music with your system as relates to tempo training with students? So actually, we do not offer at this time sounds. We have a feedback. We do not do tempo training in PuttLab. I think this is something we planned since long. We have not yet done it in the right way. We certainly use tempo. So what we normally do is counting drills. So we give you a specific tempo, and then based on a specific frequency, let's say 75 beats per minute would be the true average for the forward swing, we would start counting. So we rather use counting drills, but certainly if we come up with more tools, in particular in the 3D software, we will add much more feedback, such as tempo and timing, and also different tempos based on something like metronome type of strokes of sounds which we would use. Okay, and then maybe coming to ball tracking, which can also be activated in the studio software. Well, there's not enough time really to go into this too deep to start ball tracking here, but I can show you some data on ball tracking. Just let me look where I need to go so that I don't get lost. Okay. I need to step to ball tracking. And I just select the putt. Okay, this is a 2% of roll. Pitch is level. So it's not uphill or downhill, but the hole is slightly displaced to the right half a meter. So there will be some, because the hole is on the right side, it would be slightly downhill. The zero break line is slightly 99 degrees, slightly pointing downwards relative to your putt. So this would be zero break line with an active slope of 2% also, stimp 12.5. And now we have a studio where, just let me show you that. Just a second. We have a setup like this. So there's another camera mounted just above the surface, and it's tracking the ball. So it's true ball tracking. That's not estimation. We are really tracking what the ball is doing. And we can combine this with tiltable platforms so that you are able to play break putts. And certainly on breaking putts, it's much more adventure to start tracking the ball. And then we will also project back all the information like the optimal corridors and feedback relative to your putt with projection from the top onto the surface, which is actually under work and which will be ready in summer. So this would be a complete studio setup with high-speed video, ball tracking, 3D software, everything running in parallel. And then looking at SAM PuttLab, the report might look like this. We step to a specific putt. Let's say we look at putt number 5, which went probably into the hole, so we can estimate where it would have gone afterwards. And you see the relative direction was almost ideal and speed was slightly slow, but this was almost perfect to match with a given corridor. We have the slowest putt and the fastest putt. The slowest putt is at an entry speed of 0.1 meter per second. The fastest putt is at 0.9 meter per second, and the optimum putt is 0.5 meters per second. And we also show you how the ball would roll, if you would miss the hole, what the optimal distance would be behind the hole. We show you a lot of data on ball performance for launch speed, smash factor, skid distance, skid time, speed drop, roll speed, roll ratio, ball distance, ball side effect. This would be perfect data for a fitter. In particular, if you combine it with SAM PuttLab data, for example, you might adjust launch conditions relative to your skid behavior, or you might adjust, let's say, the putter design or the putter you play in general, or the stroke you apply relative to the starting direction of the ball and what the ball does speed-wise relative, for example, to a given break. This can all be done here, but at the same time, you can also replay it in 3D. That's just the same putt. Now, 3D would automatically turn everything relative to the ideal aim line. So if we look at this from the hole, this would be the ideal aim line, red, then white would be the connection to the hole, and this would be the ball as it is rolling to the hole. And again, you can look at it at any angle. You have all the options of showing different information for the putter movement, and then we have split screens where you see the ball moving on the lower part of the screen, and you see on the upper part maybe what your putt stroke looks like, if you're pulling or pushing, because it's a path which is then requiring some compensation to the left if you underestimated the break or whatever your profile would be. You can follow the ball with the putter, playing the ball, and then the visual would just follow the ball rolling down the break. And then we might, with a projection, put this in front of you on the surface, including these ideal corridors and some aiming help, like funnels, like intermediate targets, like apex indication, distance indication, or other visuals which help you to perceive the break better. Okay, so far, I think you've seen, kind of starting with our basic concept of how we develop the unit, to today, where we are now with all these different options. Are there any questions? So if you have questions with regards to the products, if we have questions with regards to updates, just contact us via email, and we will give you all the information you would need. If you want to have more specific information on applications such as ball tracking, or some information on what we discussed with regards to teaching coaching, you might write me an email personally, and I will try to answer it in time.